Hi, this is Hank reporting from Kyiv, and this is my update on Russian-Ukrainian war. Let's see what happened around Ukraine in the last 24 hours. Life, death, and resurrection. Russian drones production. Another massive air raid. War is peace, freedom is slavery. Double strike in hospital in Sumy. The March of Honor. Today, September 29, we celebrate Mariupol City Day. Celebrate is not quite the right word because in essence, we, those residents who survived, are now in exile and scattered around the world. A huge number of people died and we still do not know the exact number. There is a segment of those who could not leave and now live under occupation next to the Russians and the traitors who remain there and happily cooperate with them. Unfortunately, I know such people. It is disgusting to understand that you could have known a person for many years, celebrated holidays together or went to a bar and then find out that this person pointed Russian artillery at their hometown or became their vassal. I'm not ready to talk about it yet, maybe in the future. I'll say briefly that I have completely stopped communicating with those members of my family who are still alive for more than 2 years and blocked them everywhere. It is hard. So today is Mariupol City Day. Today it is 246 years since it was founded. When I was a child, this was the third most important holiday for me after my birthday and New Year's Eve. Every year there was a parade, concerts and competitions around the drama theater. In this photo you can see the City Day in 2007. I was just starting to take pictures and just shot all the events around. In 2022, when the Russians destroyed 90% of the city and occupied the territory, and the last defenders left the Azovstal plant and went to captivity, the defense was officially stopped. It lasted 86 days from February 24. I cannot convey this feeling when you realize that you no longer have a hometown. That is, literally in the physical and metaphorical sense. I needed to do something in memory of my hometown. That's how life, death, and resurrection came into being. I developed the following concept. From a huge archive of photographs from different years, I selected those that, in my opinion, illustrate well the quiet life that was before, to which I have stories and which work well together. For symbolism, I chose 86 pieces by the number of days of heroic defense. This is an important number. I wrote a story for each of the 86 photographs, indicated the exact GPS coordinates and uploaded them to blockchain to save them. At that time, NFT technology seemed promising to me because there were interesting journalistic projects like those done by Time magazine, and I talked to many photographers and creators who made NFT exhibitions, sold their collections to collectors and told their stories to large media. Besides that, it meant that if I lose a physical drive with these photos and access to the cloud storage, somehow they will remain in blockchain forever. So it was a new way to show and save these stories. This is photo number 10. I called it Second Sunset at Azovstal. You see that the same legendary plant, I photographed it from the roof of my parents' house where I was born and raised. This was taken in 2008. This is what Azovstal looked like at night when hot rolled metal was poured there. The distance to it's about 1.3 kilometers and about the same to the drama theater and the city center. That's where I grew up. In this photo you see a pro-Russian rally in the city center in the spring of 2014, just before the Russians occupied Crimea and attacked Mariupol. The red posters say, "Our homeland is the USSR," and you can also see several flags with a tricolor. These people are basically a good cross-section of the part of society that wanted to return to the USSR. Mostly old people who remember that the grass was greener. By the way, then they started grabbing my hands and aggressively asking who I was and why I was taking pictures with a professional camera. I had to show my passport with local registration and put away the big camera, then I continued shooting with a compact camera. There is a certain chronology in the collection because all the photos are sorted by dates from 2007 to 2020, and there you can trace how these historical events were born. This is the very first rally on the 2nd of March of the year 2014 where it all started. My idea looks like this. I have 86 photographs. This is the life collection, our past. The war will end one day anyway, and we will get the territory back, I'm sure of it. Then I'll be able to go and retake all these photos from the same point of view to show literally how the war changed everything. This will be the death collection, our present time. There are places that are unrecognizable, houses and people that do not exist. It's incredibly difficult to imagine. It will be probably unbearable to see with my own eyes because in my head there is still the image of the city as I saw it last time in 2020, a kind of Schrödinger's Mariupol. I want to make a documentary about this trip. I even applied for grants, but to be honest, I have paused this idea for now because it is not known when we will liberate the city, but there is also a ray of hope that someday, in years, perhaps I'll be old if I survive this war, then we will restore everything and I will retake these photos again. And this will be the Resurrection Collection, our happy future. Thus, I created 3 realities in one project. Basically, this is my lifelong work. At the moment, the project exists on the blockchain. I published it on Instagram, 1 photo a day, and it is there. And also there is a sketch of the website. I stopped paying for hosting to reduce costs, so it looks a little bit bad, but I will leave a link under the video. There are photos and tags, maybe you will be interested. In fact, it would be good to promote it and do exhibitions, but this material is so difficult for me and I do not want to touch it right now. It is too personal and too painful to experience often, like it brings back the pain. Nevertheless, I'm glad that I started it in 2022. The Russian company Alabuga builds Shahed drones in Russia under some license received from Iran and boasts a lot about how they create these weapons to kill our peaceful people. Iran, of course, denies everything, but there are facts. These drones were created in Iran for quite a long time, and in 2022 they got to Ukraine and caused significant damage to us. A year later, in 2023, the Russians built a factory for assembling those drones in the city of Kazan. This Alabuga was filmed on TV where they boasted about how their students create murder weapons. Nothing new, ordinary Russian soulless propaganda. In this graph you can see the statistics of attacks by these drones in Ukraine. The peak values in September, December and March, and related to the fact that Russia was launching both its own drones and receiving import from Iran. We tracked the transfer of cargo planes from Iran to Russia. Most media outlets have now circulated the news that Alabuga has exceeded its production plan. They were supposed to build 6,000 Shahed drones by September 2025 in a year, but they have already delivered more than 6,000 by August of this year. They are ahead of schedule by a whole year. It sounds scary, but what is the reality? Sergei Flash, a Ukrainian specialist in communications and electronic warfare, a person who directly studies drones and the enemy communications technologies, assessed the situation as follows. They increased production from an average of 375 drones to 500 drones per month. Also, these statistics are collected based on the launch indicators of these drones and not on the data from the intelligence service. I specifically held this news for several days until I received this comment. Yes, the Russians are certainly trying to increase the production of means for our murder. We are trying to increase the means for defense and counteraction. Now we are actively shooting down their reconnaissance drones with the help of FPVs, including at night. These technologies are developing as a response to a challenge from the enemy. The response can also be different. In the photo you see a portrait of Alexei Kolomoitsev. He was the head of the State Center for Unmanned Aviation of the Russian Ministry of Defense. As they say, he was the main one for Shaheds and managed both the development and training of personnel. There is a photo of him on the internet immediately after the liquidation. I cannot show it here due to YouTube regulations, and last night I listened to about 5 hours of our air defense fighting with Shaheds at night, and this is an example of our pinpoint, quiet and very effective fight on another level. I want to show you the video and translate a fragment of this conversation. The woman in the frame is Yelena Valberg, president of the Russian Ski Federation, not a random person from the street. Here the interviewer asks her a question regarding her vision of the future of Russian athletes in the international competitions. I will show you the entire video and translate the text verbatim, you need to hear it.
Чтобы Россию вернули наконец-то уже к соревнованиям, не только не Олимпиадам, в целом, чтобы участвовали спортсмены наши под флагом и гимном.
Мне кажется, если бы мы какую-нибудь серьезную бомбу кинули в центр Лондона, уже бы все закончилось, и нас бы уже везде пустили.
What should have happened for Russia to finally return to competitions, not only the Olympics in general, so that our athletes participate under the flag and anthem? And her answer. I think if we threw some serious bomb into the center of London, everything would have already ended and we would have been already allowed everywhere. People, wherever you watch this video, write in the comments whether this would help Russians to get access to international competitions, or would it be better to return foreign lands, pay for destruction and murders according to international laws, put the criminals in jail and try to make the whole world not hate you. Honestly, I do not understand what's going on in their heads. They seem to not understand the basic order of events, cause and effect. You attacked a country. Sanctions were applied to you for this attack. Now you think that you need to attack another country to leave the sanctions and go there to competitions. Sir George Orwell, you won't believe it, but the Russians took your novel 1984 as an instruction and now they want to blow up London, where you died. By the way, they officially banned this book from public in Russia. I wonder why. Russians have struck a hospital in Sumy again. What is also terrible is that after the first strike, rescuers arrived and the terrorists struck again. This double strike tactic is often used by the Russians to increase the number of victims. Extremely cynical. This time 7 people died and 12 people were injured. There were also 124 people in the hospital itself, several of whom could not walk. I would just briefly describe this news so that it is recorded, but unfortunately this is not the first time this has happened, and most likely they will continue because it hurts people and maintains the level of terror. Here you see how the Red Cross employees provide assistance to the first police officers who arrived at the place, who were hit again. The Russians have no moral boundaries. They will continue this and we only need to stop them by force. They only understand force. What is strange is that there are people who deny this. 2 years ago, Russians hit Vinnytsia with missiles and many civilians died there literally in the street, including children. We were all shocked. I took this event very hard. Then I wrote a post on Facebook with photos from the place where the missile hit, and my relative, who was in occupied Mariupol at that time, responded. She said that it was all untrue, of course without any refutations or facts. I blocked her and then 6 months later she died, and I don't know the details. We never made peace with her, and it is sad because I grew up in her house and her family used to take care of me when I was little. My mother also denied the fact that Russian missiles were flying at Kyiv at the beginning of the war. It was easier for her to accept the fact that her son was misinformed than that Russians were committing war crimes. And this is a whole separate topic for conversation, not today. On Saturday, a parade called March in Honor of the Defenders of Ukraine took place in Kyiv, in which about 1,000 people took part. Here I filmed part of this parade along the main avenue of Kyiv, Khreshchatyk Street, in the direction of Maidan, the most popular places in the capital. People walk with portraits of their relatives who were killed and those who are in captivity. This event is a tribute to the memory and respect of all our soldiers and those who help. And these are doctors, volunteers, support and logistics services, and many others. We can say that this concerns everyone now, because every person does something to protect the country, even if they are not at the front. Of course, there are people who are less active, but everyone at least donates money and pays taxes. This shooting itself is very difficult. People walk in a column for about 5 kilometers, and I need to have time to shoot in different directions and different angles, and of course catch some unusual shots that will attract attention. From a photographer's point of view, this is a challenge because I do not control the process and cannot stop them for a second, and this would also ruin the shot. In my understanding, the more difficult the shooting, the more interesting it is for me. When a column of people is walking, I usually run to the side and in front of them to take portraits. Sometimes I lag behind to take a wide shot. This couple of young patriots were standing on the street to the side, just random people, and they repeated the slogan of the column passing by: "Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes." I really like this shot because it is real, not staged. I literally took it on the run in 1/1000th of a second. I also like this shot of a woman with a portrait of a fallen defender and a dog in her hands. It's expressive and consists of contradictions. It's interesting to look at. On the one hand, the portrait tells us about a loss. On the other hand, we have this funny dog who refuses to march and needs to be carried like a child. When the column passed Maidan, I crossed the street to take photos of a group of people who came to pay their respects to the defenders, and a huge field of flags that were installed as a memorial to the killed soldiers. In general, this demonstration is a good example of how we honor the defenders and understand the price of our freedom. I would like to say that separately that such events are held calmly. People do not break anything around them. There is no chaos or aggression. Also, many of people are nervous because of the losses and constant Russian attacks. At such moments, I want to believe in the good, that this society has a chance and we can build a future together. For me, this is a good example in miniature. On Saturday, I shot 2 difficult shoots in a row, and because of this, I had to miss an important demonstration on Sunday and take a day off. I'm really trying to take care of myself a little now, so I can run this marathon longer. If you want to support this channel, all the links are below. I want to raise some money for its advertising now so that it can reach a higher level. At the same time, every day I donate my money from selling photos to various fundraisers. Every time I receive news about some of our successes and understand that I directly supported this project with my money, it really lifts my spirits. Roughly speaking, I'm now buying back my native land meter by meter. The best investment of all time. Thanks to everyone who supports Ukraine today. This was my update on the Russian-Ukrainian war for day 949. Take care and hope to see you tomorrow.